Hey, it's Craig from Unleashed Education here, and you are watching another Edit My Photo video. In these videos, we edit one of your raw files, and today I'm going to be working on this image from Jannie Lou of a gorgeous Frenchie up on a rock here. Having the dogs stand up on something is a great way to keep them in place so you can get a really nice pose, and it stops them moving around a little bit, so you usually have a little bit more time to work before they step forwards or run away. This image was shot with quite a small aperture, so the depth of field is quite big, and that's caused a little bit of distraction happening in the background. So in this edit, I'm going to be working on making the dog pop as much as I can by using a couple of techniques like dodging and burning, using contrast and masks to really simplify it. Then in Photoshop, I'm going to be removing some of the distractions. I'll be enhancing some of the features of the dog's face and just applying a few finishing touches at the end of the edit back in Lightroom. Feel free to follow along from start to finish, or if you'd like, you can fast track using the time codes down below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more pet photography, shooting and editing tips and tricks, please subscribe to our channel. Okay, so I'm here in Lightroom with Jannie's file of this lovely little French bulldog, and I think that really what I want to do on this edit is keep it pretty simple. There's a little bit of deeper depth of field here. The image was shot at f10, so I want to try and eliminate some of that distraction, bring out the detail in the dog a little bit more, and just get the white balance and the colours looking all good. So let's make a start with some basic adjustments. To take some shadows up first, just so I can see what detail is there. Bring the highlights down, and then just add some contrast back in by adding some white and bringing down the blacks a little bit as well. I'm going to add some vibrance and some saturation, and then I'm going to look at my white balance. So this is definitely on the cool side. It's possibly a little bit magenta as well. A bit of a trick for this is if you bring them both up, vibrance and saturation to 100, you can generally get a good overview of what colors are present in the image. And so we can see the rock quite a lot on the dog here as well is very blue, and there's definitely some magenta coming through in the fur there as well. Now I've got that in an exaggerated view, I can correct the white balance as much as possible by adding warmth and taking out magenta to get it looking as neutral as possible. Then when you take these two back down to 0, you have a much more neutral base to go from, and then you can just add in your saturation to taste. With such a neutral coloured image, we can probably get away with a little bit without making the greens look too garish. I think that's a pretty good start. Let's have a look at 100%. His eyes are looking nice and sharp, and the fur and the detail and everything there is really good. So I'll actually do my sharpening at this stage in Lightroom, and I normally take the amount up to about 50, radius to 1.2 and the detail to around about 40. Hold down my option key and bring the masking slider up. Now I want to just sharpen the dog more than anything really, but with the depth of field here, we're probably going to end up sharpening most of the image. And what we're seeing with this mask overlay here is basically anything that's white is where sharpening is going to be happening. Anything that's black, sharpening's not affecting the image. So if we go back down, you can see that if we're down here, we're just applying blanket sharpness basically to the whole image. Increase it. If this was a shallower depth of field, we would be able to isolate the outline of the dog and sharpen just the dog quite nicely. But because the depth of field is a little bit more with the f10 here, it is going to sharpen up some of the background. I think as far as it goes in Lightroom, at this stage I'm done. So I'm just going to right click on this and edit in Photoshop. in Photoshop, the first thing I want to do is just remove some of the distractions. So I'll make a new layer with Command and J, and I will use the patch tool. So just anything that's kind of catching my eye. So there's a few little things that generally I always look for. So I always look for very bright areas or very distracting areas around the edges of the frame. So for example, we've got some rock here, we've got a lot of greenery, but these bits of dead leaf, these browns, could potentially be quite an eye-catching difference in colour and tones through here. So I'll get rid of those with the patch tool. Little sharp angle here on this bit of leaf, and probably just get rid of all of that at the side there as well. That's just sticking up and into the frame. And I think that's probably it around the edges. So now I'll just take a look at everything else. I think that's probably all. So if I turn this layer off, you can see all of the distracting elements that I've removed. I think there's maybe a couple more things actually. Yep, okay, that's better. I'm happy with that. The next thing I'm going to do is work on the dog. And I'm checking for eye boogers, I'm checking for anything that I need to remove. So we've got a little bit of slobber here and there. I'll use the clone stamp to clean those bits up. Okay. Dog's cleaned up nicely. I'm going to make a color balance adjustment. So just a color balance adjustment layer here, and I want to just warm it up some more. I'm still picking up a fair bit of blue in the dog's face there, and now in Photoshop I can adjust that a little bit easier and apply it to specific areas of the image with masks. And I think doing this in Photoshop is a much better way of doing it than in Lightroom. So that's why I usually do these selective color adjustments in Photoshop. Some more yellows in there, some more warmth. We could possibly take out a little bit of magenta. I've added some red as well, just to help with the bluish tones I'm getting in the face there as well. So let's do this again, turn the layer off, back on again, and I think now we're getting a more true tone to that nice rich kind of brindle colour. So what I can do now is actually look at the whole image, and if the whole image looks okay, then I can leave it. If I'm not happy with the whole image, then I can invert this mask and then just brush it where I want to apply. So I think it has made it a little bit yellow overall, so I will invert this mask now. I'll grab a brush tool by pressing B, nice high opacity. Now we've inverted this mask, it's black, so white brush will reveal what I want to show. And then let's just brush it on. Okay, so now I want to just address some of the blueness in the rock. I'll make another adjustment layer with hue and saturation. I'm going to change the master to blues, and I'm going to take the saturation down a little bit. Now it's worth stating the amount of saturation is really important here. If we desaturate entirely, it looks fake, and it's the same in color casts in dogs as well. If you take all of the color out, it doesn't look real. It looks like you've desaturated that color, which is exactly what you've done, and there's none of it present, whereas it's natural for some of that color to remain in the image. So we definitely want to take the worst of it out, but we don't want to eliminate it entirely. Now cyan also may be present here, so let's have a quick look. Yep, so you can swing the adjustments either way and increase and go, oh yep, definitely, and decrease, and you can see the same result. It's definitely there as well. So again, we'll take that down a little bit, but not entirely. And I think that that's just made the rock look a bit better. Again, I just want to make sure that it's not affecting the rest of the image too much. I'll zoom in. And I think really with the greens, it's mostly yellow and green that is present in this image. Even in the dog, it's mostly yellows and reds. So desaturating the blues and the cyans a little bit has not really affected the rest of the image. So now I don't need to worry about masking. I'm going to flatten the image and duplicate the layer again. I think just a couple more things will help this really be the best it can be. So with this new layer selected, I'm just going to grab the polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to take it relatively close to the dog here and just around. Now I'll press Command and T to transform it. I'll go to the top here and click on this little arc with the arrows, and that's going to allow me now to warp this a little bit. And so what I want to do is just warp slightly so that it fills up some of this area of sky. And then when I deselect that now, I just need to go in and mask here to soften up these hard edges. So just filling in that sky. And I think one more thing on here, probably just want to fill in this brown space here. Now I'll just run my usual eye sparkle action. And now I'll just save that. I'll just apply a couple of finishing touches with some masks. So first thing, I'll do a select subject mask and just lift the exposure just a little bit. Another mask to do a radial gradient. I'm going to bring that over the dog here. And I think in this image, because we've got a bit of bright sky up here, we can get away with this. So I'm going to do a subtract, select subject. And I'm also going to subtract the brush and then take this off of the stone. And I'll just lighten a little bit in behind the dog there, just to help it stand out a little bit more. And I might even reduce contrast a little bit behind there too. Okay, and then one final radial gradient across the whole image, invert that and just bring the exposure down just to give it a little bit of a vignette. From this in Photoshop to this as our final edit. And let's have a look at our befores and afters. Hope you enjoyed watching that one, guys. Thank you for joining me for this Edit My Photo Winners Edit. I'll see you again soon.